세상 나그네기 나의 맘이 고날 때 사랑스러운 주의 손길 내 맘을 항상 두드리네.
오 주님, 나의 주님, 내 맘에 기쁨 주셨네.
나의 기쁨 나의 생명 주 손길 날 구원했네.
Since I met the blessed Savior, since He cleansed and made me whole,
I will never cease to praise Him. I'll shout it while eternity rolls. He touched me. He touched me. And oh, the joy that floods my soul. Something happened, and now I know He touched me and made me whole. 오 주님, 나의 주님, 내 맘에 기쁨 주셨네. 나의 기쁨 나의 생명 주 손길 날 구원했네. 주 손길 날 구원했네.
네, 잠깐 이수연자매 잠깐 마이크 앞에 잠깐. 이건 독창에 하는 거 맞습니까?
네, 맞습니다.
독창에 잠깐 소개 좀 해주세요.
6월 16일에요.
On June 16, 경기도 남주, I will be having my solo concert.
저녁 7시.
It's around
감사합니다.
7 p.m. So, thank you.
한번 이수연자매하고 이야기를 했는데 음악을 못해서 합창을 그렇게 하고 싶었답니다. 그래서 합창에 들어갈 수가 없어가지고 A컵을 했답니다. 화장하라고. 그러면 화장하는 사람 들어가서 배웠는데 지금 세계적인 소풍하러 와서 이번에 남한상선에서 하는 음악회 독창에 많이 참석해 주시고
She really wanted to do a solo concert, and
찬양에 하는 찬양이 있겠습니다.
this time she has got
감사합니다. 성의 말씀 읽겠습니다. 누가복음에 있는 말씀입니다. 누가복음 19장 1절 말씀부터 읽습니다.
If you have found it, I'll read it. And Jesus entered and passed through Jericho, and behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, which was the chief among the publicans, and he was rich. And he sought to see Jesus who he was, and could not for the press, because he was little of stature. And he ran before and climbed up into. When Jesus came to the place, he looked up and saw him, and said unto him, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must abide at thy house. And he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all murmured, saying that he was gone to be guest with a man that is a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood and said unto the Lord, Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. And Jesus said unto him, This day is salvation come to this house, forsomuch as he also is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which was lost. I read up to verse 10. The world of spiritual life is made in the heart. And when the world of the heart is formed in our hearts, even though we don't try to change, even if we try not to change, our hearts will become warm and beautiful. It may seem like fame or reputation may change us, but no matter what we obtain, it cannot give us true peace in our heart. And if it cannot do that, then it is actually meaningless. Recently, while doing the work of the gospel, the amazing thing is the fact that I was able to become a gospel preacher. It's not because I had some talent. It's because when I think about the things that Jesus has done in my life one by one, I failed in everything that I did, the life of believing in myself. So I chose not to believe in myself, and I just inclined my ears to the word of Jesus. But amazingly, I began to change. And when I read the Bible, from my thoughts, when I read the word with my thoughts, and when I read the Bible with the heart that God gave me, it was so different. And so God was living and working in my life. And when I saw such things, I was so amazed. When we had the CLF in Gwangju, a certain pastor and his wife, pastor and his spouse came, and I later found out he used to be like a shaman, and he was a very famous shaman, but he changed his heart, and then he became a pastor, and he was very famous. And he traveled all over the world to preach the gospel, but he came to my seminar. And I preached about the book of Hebrews. And as he heard this, he received salvation. So he said he cannot come because on Sunday mornings he has to preach at his church, but on Sunday evenings he said he would come to our seminar and to the Gwangju church. So the CLF pastors, they came, and they came out and they all testified about how they received the forgiveness of sins, and really touched the hearts of many people. Beyond just seeming it sounding good to our ears, but there is power in the word of God. There is strength in the word of God, and it has such a meaning to change our lives. The woman caught in the act of adultery, when she was caught in the act and brought to Jesus, maybe it took approximately 30 minutes. I'm not exactly sure about the time, but if we take an approximate measure, maybe it was 30 minutes. So what did Jesus do in the heart of the woman caught in the act of adultery? She was a woman who was filled with adultery. She committed adultery because she could not overcome the lust in her heart. She had no choice but to be stoned to death. But Jesus gave so much happiness to this woman's heart, and a gratitude that she never felt before, a joy that she never had before in her heart. And Jesus said to this woman, "Neither do I condemn thee, go and sin no more." And then he sent her off. So this woman, she was in the position where she had to be stoned to death. But after listening to some words from Jesus, her situation changed, her circumstance changed, her life changed, her heart changed. And she had been changed so much. And she was so happy. So when I stood in her place, she was saying, "I thought I was going to die, but I'm alive, I'm happy. Oh, he gave life to me." This kind of joy is in our hearts as well. And God, to all the people in the world, He gives them the opportunity to meet Jesus in their lives. But most people, though they meet Jesus, they don't know about Jesus. Before Jesus was crucified on the cross, there was Herod and Pilate. And Pilate sent Jesus to Herod. And now King Herod, this was actually his like once in a lifetime opportunity. If he had met Jesus and said, "Jesus, I'm also a sinner. How can my sins be washed away, Lord?" And if he had been humble and asked for the grace of Jesus, then he would have really been he would have received the forgiveness of sins and been so happy. But after listening to Jesus, he wanted to see Jesus do some kind of miracle, because so this was actually his once in a lifetime opportunity for King Herod. But this is how he arrogantly just rejected Jesus, and he mocked Jesus because he wouldn't do a miracle. So as I met Jesus, I used to go to church, but I failed in all things, and I lived a life having no hope. And I met Jesus. But as I met Jesus, I felt His warm love, His grace, and forgiveness of sins. When I think about those things, I was able to, even though I was able to erase all other things, the fact that Jesus bestowed grace upon me, Jesus made me happy, I could not erase it. And the more and more I think about it, I was thankful. And the more and more I read the Bible, I was happy. In the past, I would have evil thoughts in my heart, and I would get angry and frustration. I would hope for war, and I hated to see people live better off than me. I was always filled with these kind of complaints inside of me. I was always frustrated. But I soon found myself being a grateful person, a person living for Jesus. Now today, Jesus, while passing by Jericho, he met a man called Zacchaeus, who was chief among the publicans. He was chief among the publicans in Jericho. Now, at this time, Israel was a colony of the Roman Empire. So they would have to. These people would go and be in charge of taxes. And this tax collector would tell the Roman Empire that I'll collect this amount of tax for you. Then the Roman Empire would say, okay, receive this amount, so an X amount of tax from your people, and then send it to us. So now that doesn't mean he can collect as much tax as he wants as long as he just fits that amount that the Roman Empire demands. And because they worked for the Romans, they were despised by and looked down by the other Israelites. These were the tax collectors and the publicans. So Zacchaeus, even he was short, and his appearance was like that, and his job, because of his job, people didn't like him, but he didn't care because why? He made a lot of money. He just lived a sinful life. But now one day Jesus came and passed through Jericho. Now Zacchaeus had heard about Jesus many times, but he had never met Jesus. So what kind of a person is Jesus? He wanted to meet him. And so Zacchaeus went out and stood by the roadside. And Zacchaeus, he was shorter than other people. And so because people were crowded, he couldn't see Jesus. So he thought to himself, how can I see Jesus? I want to see Jesus. I want to meet Jesus. Should I just go home? What should I do? Is there any place to go up on? What should I do? Is there any high building that I can get on top of? And then he saw a sycamore tree nearby. So he realized, I can see Jesus if I go up that sycamore tree. But now, he's a tax collector. And he's short on top of that. And if he goes on top of the sycamore tree, he felt burdened, and he felt people would make fun of him and look down on him. But now, everyone, life, all you need to do is know just a couple of simple things. There are many thoughts that arise within us. John chapter 13, verse 2 says that the devil put in the heart of Judas Iscariot the heart to sell Jesus, to betray Jesus. In John chapter 13, verse 2, so Judas did not just betray Jesus, because Satan is a spirit. It says, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. And there was one sister who said that she saw a ghost in our church. So I said, what are you talking about? And this one sister, she said she saw a ghost. And I called her. I said, how did you see the ghost? She said it was late at night, and she went to the restroom, and there was no one there. And she was trying to open the door, and she saw that someone was inside the stall. So then she waited outside. And she said, surely there was someone inside. And then she waited for a long time. And then she opened the door, and there was no one inside. And she was so shocked that she ran away without even turning back. And I laughed. I said, hey sister, if you find a ghost, just do what I tell you to do. Hey ghost, it's me. Long time no see. Are you a ghost? I've never seen you before. But that's strange. How can I see you? The ghost is not supposed to have an appearance. Hey, try to push me. You can't push me, right? Try to push me. Try to drag me. You can't do it, right? Because a ghost, it doesn't have a body. It can't pull or drag. You can't even see with your eyes. To say that you just saw a ghost, it's really funny. You cannot see ghosts with your eyes. It's a spirit. But surely the Spirit of God, the Spirit works within inside of us. So how do these spirits work inside of us? If these spirits, had horns, and if they looked hideous, and they came to you, and they scared you, maybe then you wouldn't listen to it, right? But the spirits put thoughts inside our heart. And so the evil spirit put a thought inside of Judas Iscariot to betray Jesus. Saying, you can get the money and betray Jesus, but Jesus, he'll run away. Don't worry, he'll get by. So he thought, okay then, I can make some money off of this, and and I can help Jesus out. So he was deceived by Satan, and he accepted those thoughts. And that is why people who commit suicide, or people who commit these severe crimes, when you listen to their stories, one day, a certain thought enters inside of them and it drags them. The thoughts that occur inside of us, for example, if I play games, or if I do drugs, or they fall into addiction, into gambling, people, it's because they don't know about themselves. Some person falls into games, and I ask them, do you want to play games, or did you not want to play games when you were addicted? And what he said to me was, there are times when I want to play games, and there are times when I don't want to play games. So that's not actually a precise answer. When you start playing games, you think to yourself, I need to stop playing these games. If I keep playing these games, I won't be able to study. I won't be able to go to college. I'm gambling. I lost my house. I need to stop gambling. I should stop gambling. And that is our heart. I try not to gamble, but the heart to want to gamble, it's not my heart, but Satan puts that heart inside of me. Because Satan, he's a bit smarter than us. He's actually a lot smarter than us. So no matter how much we try not to gamble, and we try hard to not gamble, and we just say, he tells us, just do it once, just do it this once. It feels so nice. And then it's hard to want to gamble inside of me. This heart, the fact, there are very few people who know that it's actually Satan who puts these thoughts inside of me. It is hard to want to gamble. We think that it's my heart and I'm deceived by it. That's why. When I was in the Jeonju prison, I met a woman who stabbed and killed her husband and her daughter. I spoke to her for 2 hours, and she cried and cried and cried, and told me how she killed her husband and her daughter with a knife. She explained to me. And when I look at this lady, it wasn't her thought. An evil spirit put that thought inside of her. And the scary thing is, nowadays in Korea, there are many people, women who speak with this evil spirit. Is there anyone here who you've met someone who's met with an evil spirit? There are a lot of people who have met with this evil spirit. A certain lady, she says that she has a boyfriend, and he's so handsome. And he's so warm to her. So one day she invited her friend. Said, hey, my friend, should I introduce you to her? Oh yeah, you can introduce me to her. Come to my house. And then while speaking with her friend was looking at her and she saw this girl just talking to herself all by herself. And the friend looked at her over for 1 hour, and because her friend was talking to her imaginary boyfriend for over 1 hour, and then they ended the conversation and asked him, hey, did you see my boyfriend? So because in her eyes she could see her boyfriend. And then the friend said, hey, it's weird. What's so weird? You said you had no boyfriend. When you said your boyfriend was here, the door was closed. And your boyfriend came and left, but the door has never opened. Isn't that weird? What's the point of the door opening or not? My boyfriend was here. That's what's important. So she was already being led by that evil spirit. When I once went to Daegu for a Bible seminar, a certain brother came to me and said, Pastor, my younger sister, she's not in a good condition. And he brought his younger sister to me and he said, Pastor, I can't do it. I've spoken to many pastors. It's impossible. So I opened the Bible and I told the sister to read the Bible. And after 1 minute, she started sleeping, reading the Bible. She was sleeping and snoring. It was so astonishing. I said, please read here. And then she started cursing. And then her husband was so shocked. Hey, honey, are you crazy? I said, hold up, just wait up. And then she started yelling at me. She says, shut up. So, I was in shock, but her husband was so shocked. And so I told her husband, you have to go to work, right? Yes, sir, I have to go to work. Just give me 3 days. Oh, yes, sir. And just get 3 days off of work for me. And so, yeah, I got 3 days off of work. I got the vacation. And so the husband was so shocked because he never saw his wife acting in that way. And so then there was an empty room. So I said, you can sleep here. You and your wife can sleep here. And I'll pray for your wife. So the next day in the morning, I went to the room and she said, oh, he's coming again. It's so loud. It's so loud. And so I prayed for her. I told the evil spirit, you need to come out of there. Oh, I'll go out the day after tomorrow. Who said you can go out the day after tomorrow? Get out right now. So the next day, I had some work and I came back. And the husband, and she was speaking to her husband, and she was completely healed. So until that point, she had been dragged by this evil spirit. But this evil spirit came in a really evil form. And it doesn't just always come in this kind of evil form. This evil spirit, the reason why it's so scary, because recently some people, they say that in our church that we, committed fraud. After a lot of time has passed, and when I meet them, I meet many of them, and the mental state is really bad. Many of them are like that, actually, because they go against the true word of God, and they have been dragged by evil spirits, and that's what happens to them. And people who live spiritual life, they realize that when a certain voice is talking to them, it's the evil spirit. When I try to live for the gospel, there's something that goes against it. When I try to live for the Lord, there's heart that goes against it. The heart that makes me doubt the church, the heart that makes me go against the church. The evil spirit puts these thoughts all inside of me. And so in my thoughts, it needs to be the same as God. And I try not to gamble, but I keep wanting to gamble. Then that's not my heart. I want to live a pure life, but I keep living a riotous life. And that's why that evil spirit and the fight between the evil spirit and the spirit of God continues. So depending on who you incline your ears to, that will determine that person's destiny. So now Zacchaeus, he wanted to meet Jesus. But because he was so short, he was embarrassed to be short in the first place. I'm also short as well, but I think he was shorter than me. They say that that person was taller than me, and I thought because he said that, it might be right. But nowadays, I'm still tall compared to people my age. But anyways, the evil spirit inside our hearts. I need to study. I need to live a diligent life. I should not commit sin. If I say this, the evil spirit doesn't leave us alone. It makes us do drugs, to do games, to do gambling, and it drags our heart in that direction. And if you tell those kind of people, don't do drugs, don't gamble, no matter how many times you tell them this, it's no use. What they need to know precisely is the evil spirit even works amongst the couple, and the wife may be beautiful and loving and so thankful. But one day, there's some days where you just don't want to see your wife anymore. And those are all things that and there was one couple, they got in a big fight one day while eating breakfast. And the husband, he just went off to work and was so angry. And the wife was so angry as well. And then she slowly thought to herself. She started doing the dishes. They say it's good for women to do, dishes because while doing dishes, a lot of thoughts come to their mind. And it kind of calms down their thoughts and for their emotions as well. But what calms you down even more is reading the Bible. And what calms you even more down is listening to the word, listening to the sermon. It really makes your heart warm and forms your heart. So now Zacchaeus wanted to meet Jesus, but there was no way for him to meet him because he was so short. So when we were young, we used to crawl underneath people's legs. Maybe that's what Zacchaeus did. But now there was a sycamore tree, and he said, that sycamore tree, Jesus is going to walk this way, so I should get up on that sycamore tree and I can see him. But I'm a chief of the publicans. People hate me for being a publican in the first place. If I get on top of the sycamore tree, they're going to mock me and laugh at me. Hey, look at that midget. Look at that publican. He wants that sinner. He wants to meet Jesus. So Satan gives those kind of thoughts to Zacchaeus. Hey, why are you going on top of the sycamore tree? Get on top of the chair. But Zacchaeus, though he heard these things, all he did was listen to Jesus. And he thought to himself, if it's not for this chance, I won't be able to meet Jesus. I can't miss this opportunity of meeting Jesus just because I'm short. The whole world knows I'm short. Everyone knows that I'm chief of the publicans. Everyone knows that. So who cares if I get despised a bit? Who cares if they mock me? So now he got on top of the sycamore tree to meet Jesus. And now the evil spirit in this world, that's what evil spirit tries to prevent us from doing. Jesus came to the pool of Bethesda. And at the pool of Bethesda, there were so many sick people by the pool of Bethesda. But the evil spirit, to prevent many of those sick people from meeting Jesus, because he said that whoever enters the water, when Jesus stirs the water, they will be healed. And all the people, they all started heading towards the pond. That means that their backs were turned against Jesus. So the man with infirmity for 38 years, even if the angel did come down, he could not know what happened. He couldn't go there. Even though the man with infirmity for 38 years was healed, the other sick people did not know about it at all because their backs were all turned to him, to Jesus. And that angel made all the people look towards, in the opposite direction of Jesus, look towards the pool of Bethesda. And they were just staring at this pool. And so in this manner, that Jesus is this evil spirit is blocking us from going to Jesus. But not only is the evil spirit working, but the Lord is also working as well. So, I'm too short to go on top of the sycamore tree. People make fun of me. There are these thoughts that arise within him. And he must have a lot of those kind of thoughts. But he said, no. No, today I want to meet Jesus. Everyone knows, the whole world knows I'm short anyways. Who cares if I get embarrassed? I'm chief of the publicans, of the tax collectors. Everyone despises me, looks down on me. But I want to, meet Jesus. So who cares if I, get embarrassed? Who cares if I get embarrassed? In the Old Testament, if you look in the book of Esther, Haman had a bad relationship with Mordecai. And he wanted to have revenge, so he discovered that Mordecai was a Jew, so he decided to kill all the Jews. So he decided on a certain month and day, and then to kill all the Jews. And he went to King Ahasuerus, and he said, "King, your Majesty, there's one ethnic group that has different customs from your country. So, and it's putting our country they're a threat to our country. I will do whatever I can. Please allow me to kill them." And because Haman said this, the king listened to Haman, and he said, "Go and command it." And he gave his signet ring to Haman. And so he said, on the month of Adar, on this month, on this day, to kill all the Jews. And then he signed the decree with King Ahasuerus' signet ring, and he posted it. And all the Jews, they were all scared. Why? Because it was the king's signet, so they had no choice but to die. So on the 13th day of the 12th month, we're all going to die. And that's when Mordecai went to Esther. And he said to her, "Esther, he said, you should go out to the king and save the Israelites." Esther wanted to go out before the king. So he said, it's been over 30 days since I have not been out to the king, and whoever goes out to the king without his permit, with his allowance, may be put to death. So she was so burdened, so afraid. So what did Mordecai say? He said, do not think that you are living alone in this palace. If you stay silent at this time, then a savior of Judah, of the Jews, will come from somewhere else, but you and your father's house shall be perish forever. Who knows, maybe it is for this time that you have been made the queen. And at this time, Esther, she knew that if she did not go out before the king, she would die. And it's been over 30 days since she had not gone. Or getting off, or doing something else. If there's nothing else to do, it was just to just die. And he was so embarrassed. And this, I remember what Mordecai said. He said, "You are in the palace alone. You may think that you are safe, but if you remain still at this time, then the Jews will receive the salvation from somewhere else. Maybe it is for this time that you have been made the queen." So this is when Esther, she changed her heart. And she says, that's right, God is with us. God is with us. And Esther said, she said, I will go and pray for 3 days and fast, and then I will go before the king. And you and all the Jews here, please pray, do not eat, and pray for 3 days for me. And then she said, if I perish, I perish. And then she opened the door. Now says the king was in the palace, and he was facing towards the door. And he was looking at the door, and suddenly the door opened. And the king was shocked. Who is this? He says, who is this that opens this door, without my permission? Who is this? Who are you? And then the door opened, and it was a beautiful Esther. And the king was so shocked. And he says, oh, the Queen Esther, what has brought her here to risk her life to come all the way here? And so he put out his golden scepter right away. And then the king asked him, he said, well, what is your wish? I shall give you up to half the kingdom. And he was so thankful. And so then the tides changed as Haman was killed. So rather than just living on this world, when we go out to Jesus, then our situation will change. Jairus' daughter died, but because she went out before Jesus, she lived. The woman caught in an act of adultery was supposed to die, but she also was able to live when she met Jesus. That is the kind of work Jesus does. And that is why in our heart, if our heart goes before Jesus, and if we meet Jesus and if we communicate with Jesus, then Jesus leads our heart and takes us to an amazing place. I am a pastor. When I go home and I wake up in the morning, in the early morning I read the Bible, I eat breakfast, and then I have the pastor's meeting in the morning, and after the morning seminar, then I had the counseling. After lunch, I have counseling. And after I have interviews with the reporters. And I have a full schedule. But when I meet people,
예수님의 이름으로 만나면서
when I meet them with the heart of Jesus, in their heart,
마음을 전달해 주어서
I send and I convey the heart of Jesus.
예수님을 만나면
And when that person meets the heart of Jesus, he has no choice but to die, but he lives.
38년 된 병자 귀를 못 걷는데 걷는 것처럼
And just like he could not,
딸이 죽었는데 사는 것처럼
just like Jairus' daughter was dead but lived, and the man with infirmity for 38 years could not walk but could then walk after meeting Jesus. When you meet Jesus through the heart,
반드시 여러분의
then that Jesus will definitely put a new heart inside of you, so that no matter what kind of situation you may face,
복되게 인도를 하시는
he will be able to work amazingly, beautifully, and brightly.
저는 제가 아무것도 아닌 사람인데
You know, I'm really someone who is nothing,
병이 나은 사람도
but I would pray and people would be healed from their diseases, and they would be changed.
제가 그 기도하는 동안 예수님
And when I pray, Jesus, I would meet that person through the heart, through Jesus.
예수님 마음을 넣어
And when I put the heart of Jesus inside that person, then their worries would pass away, their fears would go away, and all the curses would go away.
여자를 돌로 치려 수백 개의 돌멩이가 그 앞에 와서 기다리고 있는데
So the woman caught in the act of adultery, all these stones were waiting for her, and then they would hit her, they would strike her, and her whole body was, bleeding, and that's what's supposed to happen to her. She was supposed to die, be covered in a heap of stones. But the amazing thing is when she met Jesus, it's something that could not happen, but so many stones were supposed to come to her, but not a single one of them could fell upon her, but they all fell on the ground. And they all left the stones on the ground, and they all returned home. And then it was only Jesus and this woman left in the midst. And he said, "Woman, where are thine accusers? No one condemned thee, hath neither condemned thee." And the woman, she brought up her head and she looked around her, and there was no one around her. There were only stones on the ground. They had all left. And he said, and then Jesus said to her, "There is no one, Lord." And then Jesus said unto her, "Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more." So now Zacchaeus,
예수님을 만나기 위해서는
to meet Jesus,
올라갈 수밖에 없는데
he had no choice but to go up the sycamore tree.
키가 적다고 조롱을 당하고
But he was mocked for being short in the first place.
키가 적어서 예수님 보고 엉덩이에 올라 남들이 뭐라고 욕할까 놀릴까
He was wondering, what would other people say about him? Oh, look at that midget. Look at him going up that sycamore tree. Yes, he had that burden. I'm pretty sure he had that burden. And this voice was telling him, just go home. Why are you trying to go up the sycamore tree? Just go home. But God, in the heart of Zacchaeus, he said to him, in his heart, he had his heart, I want to meet Jesus. I want to talk to Jesus. I want to see Jesus.
자기 소유 하는 얘기 다 뿌리치고
So he put away every other thing. And he says, "Go away, Satan, be gone." And he began to go up the sycamore tree. And Jesus was way over there. And as he came nearby the sycamore tree to Zacchaeus, and he wanted to see Jesus, he put his head out a little bit more to have a better view of Jesus. And then Jesus met eyes with Zacchaeus. And he knew about Zacchaeus. Oh, Zacchaeus has come to see me. He wants to meet me. Oh, yes. Hey, I'll create a new world inside of you, Zacchaeus. I will give you a new world that you never had before. And so he spoke to him in a very kind manner. Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must abide at thy house. It is such a thankful thing. All other people, because he was a publican, they all despised him, looked down on him. But today, the teacher's coming to my home. He was so happy. And he came at night. He was, they had eaten, they had spoken. And Zacchaeus came to Jesus. In Zacchaeus' heart,
그 집에 전혀 안 계시던 예수님이 우리 집에 안에 들어와 계시.
he's able to have a new heart that he did not have before,
예수님이 들어오시니까
and he has Jesus living inside of him. That's why his heart changed. What was Zacchaeus saying?
삭개오서 주께 여짜오되 주여 보시옵소서.
And he says, Lord, look on me.
소유의 절반을 가난한 자들께 주겠사오며 만일 이 것을 토색한 일이 있으면 4배나 갚겠나이다.
And he says, I will pay up to 4 times as much.
전에 물질 때문에 남을 속이기도 하고
In the past, I've deceived people because of my money,
챙기기도 하고
and I've enjoyed it.
예수님이 집에 오시니까
And because Jesus came,
마음도 예수님의 마음으로 가득 차니까
because even in Zacchaeus' heart, his heart was filled with Jesus.
소유의 절반을
And he says, Lord, half of my goods I give to the poor.
착취한 건데
It's money that he had taken away.
한 일이 있으면 4배나 갚겠습니다.
And he said, I restore. And if I've taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. And Jesus said unto him, This day salvation come to this house, for so much as he also is a son of Abraham. So he is blessed. Loving folks, our Lord, we cannot call him, or we can't speak to him via FaceTime. If we can speak through our Samsung Galaxy, if we can just meet through apps, but there's no FaceTime that can connect through heaven. And so we can speak with our Father over the phone, we can speak to the different people. How good would that be, right? So just having that one phone and pay, maybe 100,000, 100,000 won an hour to be able to call heaven and speak. God, is my father doing well? He left this world. Is he doing well in heaven? Is he in heaven or hell? He said, Father, hi. Oh, it's me. Yeah. Are you believing Jesus? Yes, I am. Father, how is heaven? Oh, heaven's really nice. If you can make that kind of call to heaven, how nice would that be, right? No one would fall into trial then, right? But then still, Satan would still try to make you fall into trial. That is why people like me,
여러분 같은 분들이 사탄이 우리를 예수님한테 막 방해하고 대적 그렇게 했지만은
Satan tries to confine us, but Jesus, God, works inside our heart. He gives us strength, gives us hope, He gives us happiness.
사도 바울이 로마에 가려고 했습니다. 로마에는 정말 많은 복음전한 사람들이 있는데 바울이 로마
And so in Rome, there were so many people to preach the gospel to in Roma, but while Paul was going to Rome, there was a tempest for 14 days. And God gave him so many difficulties. But regardless, so Apostle Paul went to Rome and he preached the gospel to the Roman citizens.
박해 검ye 콘스탄틴 황제가 내릴 때 그때 로마 시민의 3분의 1이
And so when Constantine finally finalized Christianity, over 1/3 of the population in Rome, they were Christians. So everyone,
세계로 다니면서
while traveling the world, what I'm so thankful for is
그들이 어떤 사람이 예수를 믿으면 죄 사함을 받고 다른 사람으로 변해
so they say, everyone else changes. No, so when you accept Jesus into your heart, even the sinners become the righteous.
여러분 오늘 이 시간에도 여러분 집에 가서 일할 때도 주무실 때도 하나님 여러분 속에 일하시고
And so God, He's working inside of you.
마음을 주님 편으로 복음 편으로 교회 편으로 하나님 편으로
So according to God, He's leading our hearts. But now Satan, on the opposite, he's saying, no, that's impossible. No, don't do that. No, today you can't, graduate. You can't, get married. Don't do this. He makes us flow into the flesh, more and more into the flesh. And Satan is continuously doing this.
사탄이 일하지만 주님은 사탄 더 지혜롭고 능력 많으신
And because
여러분 주님이
he's put it,
여러분 속에 일하 주님을 바라보고 주님에게 마음을 드리면 주님 여러분 마음에
so if you have the heart of Jesus,
마음을
then he will put the new heart inside of you.
지나 그랬는데
And in the past, I wasn't like that. But then
예수를 지나가 보고 싶어
when Jesus passes by, you want to see him, you'll want to stop by. And people are crowded in the multitude. And because he's short, he cannot get past them and see Jesus. And he wanted to go up the sycamore tree, but when thinking about it, he felt so embarrassed because he's a midget. Anyways, he felt like he would be ridiculed and mocked. But he says, today I want to meet Jesus.
우리 예수님이시구나 이리로 오고 계시네
And so he said to him, Zacchaeus, come down, make haste and come down from the sycamore tree. Because why did Jesus say this? He says, today I must abide in thy house. So to him, it was like a dream. Zacchaeus just wanted to see Jesus a little bit, and it grew more and more.
예수님이 삭개오 집에 와서 삭개오 집에 오니까
And so when Jesus came and saw Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus' heart was different.
온 많은 재산이 부끄럽기 짝이야 내게 누가 토색한 일이 있으면 4배나 갈게요
He confessed to Jesus that from whom he takes, he restores fourfold, and that he has given over half of what he has owned to the poor. When I was having a Bible seminar in Yeongcheon,
그분은 교회 다니실 때문에 많은 갈등 죄 사함을 받고
there are many people who went to church and had many conflicts, but after receiving forgiveness of sins, they were so happy. It became, we spoke about the Bible until early in the morning, and then they would have to go to sleep. And then one elder received salvation. He spoke to his wife, honey, I received salvation, the forgiveness of sins. How did you receive forgiveness of sins? I'm not going to tell you. You also want to receive the forgivenesses too, right? I won't tell you. I won't tell you. The next day, the wife also received the training.
그 장로님 진짜 키도 크시고요 나 환자신데도 나 환자는 절대 머리도 인물 너무 잘생긴 내가 봐도
And he was so hungry. He was so tall and good looking as well.
우리가 막 웃는 그 얼굴이 그렇게 보기가 좋아
And when we see him smiling, it was so nice to see. But the next day, the elder, he was so handsome. And the next day, the elder said to his wife, honey,
내가 지금까지 너무 부질없이 살아
until now, I've been really wasting my life.
날 위해서는 재산 쌓아놓기에 바빠
I was only busy, just racking up fortunes for myself. I received such a great salvation.
나 이제 예수님 위해 살고 살고
But now I want to live for the work of Jesus. So starting from today,
무슨 일을 하든지
no matter what it is I do, don't say anything about it.
언제 뭐 간섭했어요
He says, when have I ever done anything with it? That's right, that's why. I feed 6,000. We feed 6,000 chicken a day. So we only need 3,000. So he said, I'm going to sell the 3,000 chickens. And so he sold all those chickens. And then he saved that money in a bag. And then he went outside. And then he went to his friends who were also elders. And he said, Elder Lee, how are you? I said, oh, what's up? Oh, there's something I want to say.
죄사함 받았어 우리 교회 박옥수 목사 집회에서 교인들이 다 죄사함 받았어
And so, all my friends received the forgiveness of sins. In the past, I tried to receive the forgiveness of sins, but I couldn't. No matter how much I tried, I couldn't. In the past, I couldn't receive the forgiveness of sins. Have a Bible conference. The elder was telling this to his friends, and who were also elders. Invite Pastor Oaks Park and have a Bible conference. And his friends would say, "We don't have the money." And then he said, "I knew you would say that."
이만큼 하면 집회할 수 있지
And I said to him, "This is enough for a seminar, right?"
7개의 교회를 그에
And so that we had 7 seminars in 7 colonies. and it was a major construction. And then the next year, he passed away. He was healthy. I realized, he knew that he would fail. And that's why for 2 years he never took off that samurai. He never took off took it off. So now I went to a funeral in the leper colony, and he was so afraid until then. The civilians, they don't want to come to these funerals in the leper colonies. So I would preach and I would pray. And then when this elder Kim Kwang-yeol, when he passed away, I spoke in his funeral. He says he received the forgiveness of sins, and he had Bible conferences in 7 churches, and through that many people received salvation. He already knew that he would pass away. If he had just stepped down, how embarrassed would he have been? And once in a while, when I think about Elder Kim, it brings laughter to my mouth, because this elder, he was so good looking, and he was such a good person. So for us to accept what it is, then Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus, who not only with money, but he's not in his right mind, he sold half of his wealth and gave to the poor. And he says, when I borrowed money, if I have taken from people, I will restore him fourfold. So he is no longer the Zacchaeus of old. He's no longer a slave of money, no longer a slave of himself. But because he has the heart of Jesus entered inside of him, and he became a person that was like Jesus, that's what we were able to experience. He said when Jesus would meet his students and meet his disciples, he would put a new heart inside of them. The woman caught in the act of adultery had a new heart. And then when Mary and Martha, when their brother was dead but came back to life, they were so happy. I also had many worries, many difficulties, many hardships. But every time I prayed, Jesus, he put away all the worry and the fear in my heart, and he put the passion and thankfulness in my heart that the world could not give. So now, and so that you may all form the small Jesus inside of you, so that you may receive the glory of God and may preach the gospel, and for you to work and fulfill the will of God. And many forces, military forces from big churches, small churches, the world, until now. Now, after meeting our church, there are many churches who are saying that they are righteous, that they lie, they testify that they are now forgiven of sin. And when I see such things, I'm so thankful. And so when the pastors and I, when we testify together, we go together. Yesterday I played the table, the table soccer, and these African pastors, they were very good at that sport, the traditional Korean sport, but they really enjoyed it still. So we became very close brothers. We became like family members. Everyone now, we are one with Jesus. Give your heart over to Jesus, and Jesus will fill your heart with him. The woman caught in the act of adultery, she was in fear. She was in despair,
참 기쁨과 감사.
but her heart was filled with true happiness.
장강도 멸망을
The man,
약속해주고
one of the robbers on the cross,
정말 한 사람 한 사람 속에
inside of each and every one of us, there is this heart.
예수와 같이 주님같이 하늘난 사람으로 믿음으로 할 능력을 행하며 살 수 있도록
And how that you can become people who show and portray the power of God.
마음을
And your heart, everyone, please give your heart over to Jesus
말씀을 묵상하시고
and to contemplate on the word of Jesus. Share the word of Jesus. Pray for Jesus. Then your heart will open, and as Jesus inside of you grows more and more,
여러분들의 하나님 영광 받은 역사는 귀한 역사가 일어날 줄을
and then I believe that He will surely be with you and work through you. Let us pray first. We'll first have some individual prayer time.